The phone rang at 4 in the morning. Clint Eastwood knew before he answered what the call would be about. You don't get calls at 4 a.m. unless someone is dying or already dead. Clint, the voice was Carla Leone, Sergio's wife. Her English was broken by tears. You need to come. Now. He's asking for you. April 28, 1989. Rome, Italy. Sergio Leone had collapsed 2 days earlier. Massive heart attack. The doctors said days at most, maybe hours. Clint was in Los Angeles finishing post-production on a film that suddenly didn't matter. He hung up and sat in the dark for 30 seconds. Then he started packing. By noon, he was on a plane. By sunset, he was somewhere over the Atlantic staring out the window, remembering everything. 25 years earlier, Sergio Leone had taken an unknown American television actor and made him a star. Had seen something in Clint that nobody else saw. Had given him 3 films that changed cinema forever. A fistful of dollars for a few dollars more. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Sergio hadn't just directed those films. He'd created Clint Eastwood, The Squint, The Poncho, The Silence, The Man with No Name, all Sergio's ideas. And now Sergio was dying, and Clint was racing across the world to say goodbye to the man who'd made him who he was. But what Clint didn't know was that Sergio had something to tell him, something he'd kept secret for 25 years, something that would change everything Clint thought he knew. The plane couldn't fly fast enough. To understand what happened in that Rome hospital room, you need to know what Sergio Leone did for Clint Eastwood. In 1964, Clint was 33 years old and going nowhere. He'd been acting for 10 years. Small parts in B-movies, a regular role on a TV Western called Rawhide. Decent work. Nothing that mattered. Hollywood didn't see him as a star. Too old, too quiet, too intense. The kind of face that worked for television but wouldn't carry a film. Then Sergio Leone called from Italy, an Italian director nobody had heard of, making a Western in Spain with a budget of $200,000. The lead actor had dropped out. Sergio needed someone fast. He'd seen Clint on Rawhide, saw something the American studios missed, a face that didn't need to talk, eyes that could carry a scene. Sergio offered Clint $15,000 for 3 months in Spain. Clint's agent said no. Spaghetti Westerns were considered career killers, but Clint was tired of waiting for Hollywood. He said yes. What happened in Spain changed cinema. Sergio didn't direct Clint. He sculpted him. Every gesture, every look, every moment of silence was carefully designed. The squint wasn't Clint's idea, it was Sergio's. Squint into the sun, Sergio told him. Makes you look dangerous. The poncho, the cigar, the gun belt worn low. All Sergio. When A Fistful of Dollars premiered in Italy, it became the highest-grossing film in Italian history. Sergio immediately cast Clint in 2 sequels. By 1967, Clint Eastwood was an international superstar, and he owed it all to one man. But success created distance. By the 1970s, Clint was directing his own films, making westerns, cop movies, dramas, building a career as one of Hollywood's most powerful actor-directors. Sergio was in Italy, making his own masterpieces. Once Upon a Time in the West, Once Upon a Time in America. Epic films that took years to complete. They stayed in touch. Phone calls on birthdays, letters at Christmas. But the closeness they'd had in Spain faded. Different continents, different lives. There were moments when Clint wanted to call Sergio and say, "You made me. Everything I am started with you." But he never did. Pride, masculine stoicism. The same silence that had made him famous. Sergio never called either. He assumed Clint knew. 22 years passed, 1967 to 1989. 2 men who'd created cinema history together, living separate lives, assuming there would always be time to say the things that mattered. Then the heart attack. When Clint landed in Rome on April 29th, a car was waiting. Carla had sent her driver. No time for hotels. Straight to the Clinica Salvator Mundi, a private hospital in northwest Rome, where Sergio lay dying. Clint hadn't seen Sergio in 3 years. Last time was at a film festival in Venice. They'd embraced, promised to have dinner soon. Never did. Now there would be no more chances. The driver spoke no English. Clint spoke no Italian. They drove in silence through Rome's morning traffic, both men understanding the urgency of dying. The hospital room was small, cream-colored walls, a single window overlooking a courtyard, medical equipment beeping softly, the smell of disinfectant and something else, the smell of a body shutting down. Sergio lay in bed, propped up by pillows. He'd always been a big man, robust, loud, full of life. Now he looked small. His face was gray, his breathing labored. An oxygen tube ran under his nose. IV lines snaked into his arms, but he was awake. And when he saw Clint standing in the doorway, his eyes filled with tears. "Clinto," Sergio whispered. Clint crossed the room in 3 strides, pulled a chair close, took Sergio's hand. It was cold, fragile. "I'm here," Clint said. His voice cracked. "I'm here, Sergio." Carla sat in the corner, exhausted. She'd been at the hospital for 2 days straight. When she saw Clint, she started crying again. Relief tears. The person Sergio needed most had arrived. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Clint held Sergio's hand. Sergio held Clint's. 2 men who'd created art together, saying nothing, saying everything. Then Sergio's eyes focused, found Clint's face. "I need... tell you..." Sergio's English was broken by weakness. "Something I never said." Clint leaned closer. "Save your strength. We have time." Sergio's grip tightened, surprisingly strong for a dying man. "No time," Sergio whispered. "Must say now. Before..." He didn't finish the sentence. Didn't need to. Clint nodded, listened. "In Spain," Sergio began, his voice barely above a whisper. 1964. "When I cast you, everyone said I was crazy." Clint smiled slightly. "I know. I heard the stories." "No." Sergio shook his head weakly. "You don't know. The producers, they wanted to replace you after first week." Clint's smile faded. "What?" "They said you were too stiff, too quiet, not charismatic." Sergio paused, catching his breath. "They wanted an Italian actor, someone who talks more." In the corner, Carla covered her mouth. She'd heard this story before, but hearing Sergio tell it now broke her heart again. "I fought for you," Sergio continued. "Every day, I told them, Clint is the film, the silence is the power. They wanted to fire me after 2 weeks. I said, if Clint goes, I go." Clint felt something tight in his chest. He'd never known, never suspected. "They backed down," Sergio said, "but only because I put up my own money, my house. I used my house as collateral. If film failed, I lose everything." The beeping of the heart monitor seemed louder suddenly. "You risked everything," Clint said quietly. "For me." "For us," Sergio corrected. I knew you were the one. The face cinema needed." "But Sergio..." "No." Sergio squeezed Clint's hand. "I need you to know. Everything you became, I saw it first, when no one else did, and I was right." Tears ran down Sergio's face, down Clint's face. "You were right," Clint whispered. "I never thanked you," Clint said, his voice thick. "Not really. Not the way I should have." "You thanked me," Sergio said. "Every film you made, every time you directed, every time you squinted at camera." He managed a weak smile. "That was thank you. It wasn't enough. It was everything." They sat in silence, Clint holding Sergio's hand, both men crying quietly, Carla in the corner, hand over her mouth, tears streaming. This was the moment the photograph would capture. The hand holding, the tears, the woman witnessing something sacred. "Clinto," Sergio said after a moment, "I want you to promise me something. Anything. Keep making films, good films, films that matter. Don't make movies just for money. Make them because you have something to say." "I promise." "And teach someone," Sergio added, "the way I taught you. Find an actor nobody believes in. Make them believe in themselves." Clint nodded, unable to speak. "Promise me," Sergio insisted. "I promise," Clint managed. "I swear to you." Sergio closed his eyes, exhausted. The conversation had taken everything, but there was one more thing he needed to say. "You know what I'm most proud of?" Sergio whispered. Not the films, not the money, not the fame. He opened his eyes, looked at Clint. I'm proud that I saw you first. Before anyone. I saw Clint Eastwood, and I knew. In the corner, Carla sobbed, her hand still covering her mouth, witnessing the goodbye between these two men. You gave me everything, Clint said. You gave me purpose, Sergio replied. Clint stayed for 6 hours, holding Sergio's hand, talking when Sergio had strength, sitting in silence when he didn't. They talked about Spain, about the desert, about the day they filmed the final duel in the good, the bad, and the ugly. 3 men, 3 graves, circling in the cemetery. One of the greatest scenes ever filmed. I knew that day, Sergio said. Watching you, I knew we were making something that would last forever. We did, Clint said. They talked about their families, Sergio's daughters, Clint's children, the normal things that matter more than films. They talked about death. Sergio wasn't afraid. He'd lived a full life, made the films he wanted, loved the woman he wanted, seen his children grow. I'm ready, Sergio said, but I needed to see you first, to tell you what you meant. You changed my life, Clint said. You changed cinema. We did it together. As the afternoon sun slanted through the window, Sergio's breathing became more labored. The nurse came in, checked monitors, looked worried. I should let you rest, Clint said. No. Sergio held his hand tighter. Stay. Just few more minutes. So Clint stayed, holding the hand of the man who'd made him a star, watching him struggle for breath, knowing these were the final hours. Carla approached, put her hand on Clint's shoulder. He loves you very much, she whispered, like a son. I love him too, Clint said. Sergio heard, smiled slightly, closed his eyes. As the sun set, Sergio opened his eyes one last time, motioned for Clint to come closer. Clint leaned in, his ear inches from Sergio's lips. The secret, Sergio whispered, of cinema is not what you show. It's what you don't show. The silence, the space between. That's where the magic lives. He paused, breathing hard. You understood that. First time I saw you, I knew. Most actors want to fill every moment. You trusted the silence. Clint's throat was too tight to speak. That's why, Sergio continued, you were the only one who could be the man with no name, because you understood the power of saying nothing. He gripped Clint's hand with surprising strength. Thank you, Sergio whispered, for understanding my films, for being the face I needed, for being my friend. Sergio, Clint started. And thank you, Sergio interrupted, for coming, for being here, for holding my hand. That's what matters now, not the films. This, human connection. Those were the last words Sergio Leone spoke to Clint Eastwood. Carla, watching from her chair, saw Clint's shoulders shake, saw him bow his head, saw him hold Sergio's hand like he was holding on to life itself. She covered her mouth and sobbed. The photograph captured it all, the hand-holding, the bowed head, the tears, the woman crying in the background, a moment of pure human love, caught on film. Sergio Leone died 2 days later, April 30th, 1989. He was 60 years old. Clint was still in Rome. He'd moved into a hotel near the hospital, waiting, hoping, knowing. When the call came, he sat alone in his hotel room for an hour. Didn't cry, couldn't cry, just sat, remembering. The funeral was massive. Italian cinema royalty, American directors who'd worshipped Sergio's films, actors, producers, fans, thousands of people. Clint sat in the front row beside Carla and Sergio's daughters. He wore the same dark suit he'd worn to the hospital, looked straight ahead, said nothing. During the eulogy, the priest mentioned Sergio's greatest films, the impact on cinema, the innovation. But Clint barely heard. He was thinking about a desert in Spain 25 years ago, a young actor who didn't know if he was good enough, and an Italian director who bet everything on him. After the funeral, Clint approached Carla. Thank you, she said, embracing him, for coming to Rome, for being with him. It meant everything. He meant everything to me, Clint replied. Carla pulled back, looked at him. He told me what he said to you, in the hospital, about fighting for you, About risking his house. Clint nodded. He never told anyone else, Carla said. Only me. And now you. That's how much you matter to him. Clint's jaw tightened. I'll never forget him, Clint said, or what he did for me. I know, Carla said. That's why he could die happy. Clint Eastwood kept both promises he made to Sergio Leone. He continued making important films. Unforgiven, Million Dollar Baby, Gran Torino, Mystic River, films that said something. Everyone carried Sergio's lesson about silence and space, and he taught. When he directed, Clint looked for actors who understood what Sergio had taught him. The power of restraint, the strength of silence. In 2009, 20 years after Sergio's death, Clint was asked about his greatest influence. He didn't hesitate. Sergio Leone taught me everything that matters. Not just about filmmaking, about belief, about seeing potential when nobody else does, about taking risks for someone you believe in. He paused, then added, he bet his house on me, his home. That's not directing. That's love. The interviewer asked if Clint had ever repaid that faith. Every day, Clint said. Every film I make, every actor I believe in when nobody else does. That's how I repay him, by passing it forward. The photograph from that hospital room hangs in Clint's office. Not the movie posters, not the awards. That photograph. Sergio dying. Clint holding his hand. Carla crying in the background. A reminder that fame doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. What matters is the human connection, the people who believe in you, the promises you keep. Clint Eastwood became one of the greatest directors in cinema history, but he never forgot the Italian director who saw him first, who fought for him, who bet everything on a quiet American actor nobody else wanted. That's not just a career, that's a legacy of love.